Freedom Reigns Radio Network is not responsible for the views and opinions of the guests or hosts of this show. The views and opinions expressed in this show are strictly the views and opinions of guests or hosts of this program.
Are they? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the OPPT-IN show for this week. My name's Lisa Harrison, and we are, as always, joined by Bob Wright in Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Glad to be here. And thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it.
Dang it.
We
ruined my announcement.
Happy birthday to him before I was again, but, you know.
We were going to sing it for you, Bob.
Please don't.
Okay.
And we've got Chris Hart in Melbourne.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're well. Interesting morning this morning.
Yes, it is. And Brian Kelly in... I keep forgetting where you are.
San Diego.
San Diego, that's it.
And happy birthday, Bob. Happy birthday, brother.
Thanks, Bri.
Yeah, buddy. Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. We've got, and we've also got a couple of flash mobs organised for today as well, for those of you who've got itchy fingers and want to send some lovely emails. And, okay, where do we start today? We probably should start with the recent brouhaha, is that the word? That tried to be generated between OPPT and Neil Keenan. And there was a post put up by a gentleman called Michael Dunn, and Michael and I had a really nice chat yesterday, and I found him to be an absolutely lovely guy, and there is definitely no animosity between myself and Michael or anybody who is in this OPPT support team and the Neil Keenan and his supporters. As I said in my response, which I thought once again was just a private little chat with someone that went viral. The only danger anybody's in from OPPT is potentially having Brian giggle them to death, and that's about it.
Brian is known to us as the Tickle Ninja.
I'm wanted for murder in 6 states, so.
Death by laughter, yeah.
And we're not going to buy into any attempts to create yet more division and separation. Anybody who has the intent to end this game and free everybody has my complete support. So, and I'm sure Michael feels the same way. So that's pretty much it. Basically, there is nothing to see here, folks. Move along. There's no drama. And Michael did put up another post today, also talking about the fact that we spoke yesterday and what came out of it. So thank you, Michael, if you're listening. It was a pleasure to speak today.
I think one really good thing that most likely came out of it, and that it's probably still being taken in by people that are just now coming to find that article that was posted on Gene Haynes, now back up and running Blab after it got shut down mysteriously last week, is, I think that there's a lot of people that followed Gene's work and followed Neil Keenan's work who, held some kind of, I don't want to say a grudge, but some kind of animosity, or they, buying into everything that was said about One People's Public Trust and all of us that are now realizing that it's okay to allow everybody to believe what they want to believe, follow the information they want to follow, and that we all share the same goal, which is freedom for humanity and freedom from the slavery system. So if anything, it's a bringing together and a coming together of people that, have taken things probably way too more seriously than they've needed to up to this point, and are able to kind of lay down their swords and allow people to just be and follow what they want to without judgment. So, hooray for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on. Where are we? We've got Brian. Did you get that email in regards to a flash mob for Bill Brockbader?
No, I did not. Not that I've seen.
Oh, I did forward it to you. Okay, Bill was sentenced to 30 months. Now, I'm going from memory on an email I got yesterday, with 10 years probation, I believe. Now, there has been a flash mob courtesy notice set up on Bill, I can never say it properly, Bill Brockbader's Facebook page. So if you go to his official Facebook page, you'll find all the courtesy notices, the cover letters, everything you need to participate is on his Facebook page. So if you want to support Bill, please go ahead and get involved over there. I think anybody can join that page. I don't think it's a private group or anything like that. So if you'd like to support Bill, that's where to go. And unfortunately, I don't have anything else, any other information to share on that right now. But obviously, Eva is very distressed, and we want to support this guy if we can, in any way we can. Okay. And we also have, as I mentioned last week, we're working on Australian flash mobs via courtesy notices via email and post. That the paperwork and all the courtesy notices and cover letters have been done. We're just in the process of trying to get them online. So they will either be later today on the Opt-In Facebook page or on the Opt-In website. I just haven't been able to communicate with the woman handling BZ, handling the website. But that will happen later today. So if you're in Australia and you're listening, please check in on the Facebook page later today, and hopefully we will have all of the courtesy notices and cover letters you need to participate in that. The idea is we want to get everybody sending courtesy notices at their state level. We are having an impact here, so let's keep that movement happening. And I want to put a very big thank you out to Lee Hu in Melbourne for putting all of that together. What else, guys? What's next?
Well, I don't know. We could talk about what happened with gold today. That was on the agenda.
Well, yeah, interesting turn of events, huh?
Worth mentioning. Yes. We're not too sure of the exact mechanism that's going on in the background, but the price of gold dropped by 10% plus, depending on what market you're in, over the last few days. And there's sort of two theories that there's some corporate playing going on, and they're trying to cut down on the amount of paper in the system and actually get their hands on physical gold because it's hard to get hold of, or the fact that that gold in and of itself won't be used as a representation of value in the future is kicking in amongst those who own lots of gold, and they're selling it. They're not too sure which it is yet. Might be both. Brian, your thoughts on that? You're an ex-gold person, aren't you? An ex-markets person? Formerly known as?
Well, let's just say I'll never go back to gold trading after gold kicked my butt like it's never been kicked before. But 19 biggest one-day percentage decline since 1983. I mean, 10% for gold, considering that. Up until looks like gold climbed from 2000, well before 2002, all the way up to 2010. It got up to 1,800 per ounce, and then $140 down day. I mean, that's really big. So anytime something like that happens, there's guaranteed to be something behind it that's causing it to move. And it's all up to speculation at this point. I mean, I'm sure that all the people that are following the RV story and have been following everything with Nassar probably have some pretty strong opinions as to what it might be. All we can do is speculate, but a 10% drop in a day is definitely something that says that something is going on. So it's going to be interesting to see what it does for the rest of the week. But People have been buying up gold for quite some time. Now the idea being put out there that it very well could not be the answer to everybody's prayers as far as leaving behind a fiat currency is going to make way for a very interesting story to be told. So, it might shoot back up tomorrow, and that's just going to, whether it goes down, keeps going down, or shoots back up, it's just going to prove the volatility of it right now. Meaning that there's some people that are still believing that gold is the best long-term solution, and there's probably a lot of people and market movers that believe that it's not the answer to all of our prayers. So it's going to be interesting to watch how it unfolds. 10% of it in a day, though, is pretty major.
It is, and it might just be people selling off their paper.
It could be. Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's people in the market movers. If we once it all is brought to light, take a guy like Soros, for example. That guy has the ability, based on his own net worth, to move a market in a day just by his own trading, because he's so invested, and he has the ability by making some moves. And then there's a lot of people that that follow the moves that he makes to even make his purchasing or selling power that much more intense. So when you have a percentage increase or decrease of 10% in the market, it doesn't usually mean a bunch of small plays that equal one major event. It usually means that there's some major market movers that are all involved. I mean, gold is a very heavily traded market, so it's kind of one of those things that's really hard to sit and look at it and speculate what would make it to decline 10%. But there's definitely some major players involved for it to be that big of a drop in one day. Mm-hmm. Major players. So we'll see what happens the rest of this week.
Yeah. The other piece of news that's obviously in front of everybody at the moment is the explosions at the Boston Marathon this morning, and of course,
did I hear that there were two, though? Did I hear that there was another one?
Yeah, there were two. Look, I'm not sure of all the details exactly. I think there was two close to the marathon and possibly a third, or one at the marathon and possibly another at the JFK library nearby. But I also saw the mayor saying that he wasn't sure the JFK was not just a fire as opposed to an explosion, but that'll become clearer later on. But the question of why the explosions took place now, when the RV is looming, and what was it for, and the fact that they were running a dog sniffer bomb detection exercise just before the explosions went off. Questions raised: is this a false flag? Is it in fact just some sort of leftover angst from the cabal brokered conflict between Christians and Arabs in the Middle East, or Arabs and Arabs in the Middle East? They'll start conflicts between anybody, and this slight chance it's a perpetuation of that. Be interested to hear Brian, Bob, and Lisa's views on that one as well, because it's just a fresh piece of information, and we are speculating here. But one wonders why this distracting and distressing event happens at this point in time.
Well, I don't even want to speculate, because I haven't even had a chance to look into it. It came to my attention 20 minutes before the
That's
show.
It.
So.
One other interesting point that was raised is that, again, not too clear on this, but it appears that the phone system may have been shut down just before the event, or in fact not so much shut down, but the ability for people to shoot video was stopped. And I know this is real because I have a relative who travels to China, and when he steps off the phone with his iPhone, the camera is disabled. Steps off the plane. Okay, because he works in the corporate world with some government attachments, and every time he steps off the plane in China, his phone shuts down. That is the photographic aspect. He can't shoot videos, he can't shoot pictures. So one thinks, what's built into these smartphones? And it'll be very interesting to see just how much actual footage was actually successfully shot. Yeah, I'm serious. There are backdoors all over the place in these systems.
Well,
Microsoft is supposed to have made a lot of money out of the fact that they built backdoors into their software and will sell them to the highest bidder for whoever wants to go in there and hoik out information on us.
There was a story that was going around a couple months ago that was talking about Apple trying to broker a deal that would, based on everybody's GPS where a certain longitude and latitude within a certain amount of miles, if they just wanted to shut down people's video recording capabilities for for some moment in time, for some event to take place that they wouldn't want people recording, that's something that they could in fact do. And it sounds like that's what they might be doing in Boston. I mean, we're just speculating here, but another thing, another way they could do it without it being too completely blatantly obvious would just be to shut service down in the area to where people can't. They would still be able to shoot video, they just wouldn't be able to upload it. So just like the Connecticut shooting and some of the ones previous to that, I think as the hours ensue, more of the story will come out, and I'm sure that there's all sorts of people all over it trying to find out what's going on. I mean, that's the difference between now and a few years ago, is that we call shenanigans a whole heck of a lot faster, and there's people that are going to be vehemently looking into this and digging to find out, the truth behind what's taking place. I mean, there's a lot of fishy, funny business that's already coming out. It just happened a couple hours ago.
Yeah. Well, just one final comment on this, because I know we've got more interesting things to move on to in terms of the ever-present now and the bigger picture we're looking at. But at one end of the spectrum, it might be just an organic action by a couple of individuals who've been twisted by the system. At the other end of the spectrum, it's a deliberate act. Either way, it is repugnant, and the system that's actually generated that spectrum in the first place is the thing that has been removed and cancelled by the actions of the former OPPT. Okay, I just wanted to say one thing about the things we're seeing in the background at the moment, is that the big difference between the efforts of the people running the RV DINA and NESARA attempt to bring in changes in the system, and the work that Neil Keenan and his group are doing to bring in changes to the system, they're inside the system, and they both preserve the corporate structure. And the corporate structure is where this problem is. And the actions of the OPPT have removed that structure. There's the fundamental difference between them. And what we're looking at today is a symptom of that structure that has been cancelled, but is still there. And the sooner we can get absolute data out to everybody. And I actually view the information that's been coming up the last week or so as the appearance of absolute data, because things are being revealed for what they truly are. And that's the absolute.
And guys, I think we're going to have to take some calls, because there are people in the chat room who seem to have some pressing questions and situations. Are we ready to do that, or do you want to say something first?
I just wondered if you wanted to talk about the material that Swissindo have posted on the web.
Oh, yeah, we do need to address that, don't we?
We do need to address that, whether we do it now or whether we do it after some calls.
No, let's do it now.
We probably need to do it now, because I'm sure some of the questions will actually be about that. So do you want to give us a quick intro to that, and we'll kick it around a little? Or maybe Brian would like to.
I was going to say, Brian, you've been the one most heavily involved. Yeah.
Sure.
Sure. So, gosh, what day was it? What's today? Today Monday? Oh, today's Monday. Okay, so.
No, it's Tuesday. So.
Oh, it's Tuesday for you, Monday for me. Thanks, Lisa. I stand corrected. It's Tuesday in Australia. Okay, so I believe it was, last maybe Wednesday, I received an email that had some documents that appeared to be drawn up by this UN Swissindo group, and I didn't really know much about UN Swissindo at the time. I've had to do quite a bit of digging since then and watch some YouTube videos to really wrap my head around who they are, and we could talk about that a little bit. But it's definitely I'm still looking for answers like a lot of other people. But this particular document, basically what it was saying is that after a very detailed and scrutinous, if that's a word, review of all of the UCC filings of the One People's Public Trust, the UN Swissindo have decided that they want to support the One People's Public Trust. And we'll talk about what I mean by support, but a little background here would probably be the best way of telling the story. The Swissindo group are a group in Indonesia that they're the ones that are most commonly known as the holders of much of the Indonesian gold. And I believe they operate the Bank of Indonesia, and they also do business out of Switzerland, hence Swissindo. But this particular set of royals, this family, has been, over the course of the last hundreds of years, from generation to generation, basically passing along the torch to one day play a role in freeing humanity. And what they've been doing over the course of the last 20 or 30 years or 100 years, I'm really not all that sure, but they've been looking at this time in history, 2012, 2013 circa era, as being the time that was prophesized about that there would be this great change and that they would essentially be able to see the fruits of their many hundreds of years of labor come to pass. And so there is a few individuals on the side of One People's Public Trust, I'm not at liberty of naming names at this point, that have been working with this group for quite a few months now, and essentially sending them all of the documents to review, the Paradigm Report, all of the UCC1 filings, and they've been following the story since the story became public on December 26th on the American Kabuki blog and then Dee's blog and so on and so forth. And they've been following it very closely. And everything that they've seen has basically they came to a conclusion that ultimately they were going to stand in support of the One People's Public Trust. And this document, these sets of documents that they released them on the Swissindo Facebook page, on a particular blog that they blog on, through one of the gentlemen, Aprianto, who has many of the Swissindo YouTube videos that are out. So the reason why we haven't made any public announcements until now, which is pretty much the first time that we've talked out about it in the open, is because we've been going through a process of making sure the people who we're dealing with are who they say they are, making sure we do a great deal of due diligence to make sure that we totally understand on all levels exactly what's being brought to the table, and it would be ill-advised on any of our parts to make any grand assumptions that that there's some done deal. So we're kind of in the process right now. It's kind of a discovery phase. And Chris, I know you know a lot about it because you've been kind of up to speed since this all came out last week as well. But what we're in the process of doing on many levels is our homework to make sure that we understand everything in its entirety. And more information is being released every day, and more emails are being shared every day. So if nothing else, it's an exciting new development, and it goes to show the credibility that has been given to the One People's Public Trust by some very influential families and royals over there in Indonesia. So it's been somewhat of a lot to take in, but an exciting development to say the least. So Chris, you could probably fill in the blanks on some of what I missed in that introduction.
Well, actually, you didn't miss much, and we're sticking to absolute fact today, stuff that we actually know. And we've had some very interesting discussions about what could transpire from this offer, because at the moment it's literally an offer. And the best thing I can recommend to people is if they would like to go and have a look at the actual documents. They are on the blog, and there will be a link to that blog somewhere in the show chat at this point. I hope if someone could put it in there for people. It's been a really interesting trip for me because I've been semi-aware that there was some work going on to find out who these people actually were, and they seem to be a very, very ethical, very much higher perspective group, which is really good because it makes them easier to communicate with in a lot of sense. And the document they've written, again, we had this massive education in the UCC style of operation over a period of months after the filings first came out, and now we step into another completely different style of document with a completely different kind of language, which I'd never seen before. And when you look through the document, there's actually two documents they've publicly put up there, which is why we're happy to talk about them, because it's transparent. And you'll see lots of references to all sorts of entities and characters in it, right throughout the document. But it is very difficult for the uninitiated to piece together exactly what it is. My conclusion is that it's either a contract or an offer of contract, and yet to be accepted, because we haven't done our due diligence. But what it told us was that we're on the same wavelength, pretty much, as the people at Swissindo. They'd recognised a massive problem in the system and were looking for a solution, were looking for an entity they could literally pass the baton to resolve what they saw as absolutely major issues with our entire system, which didn't appear to have a resolution until the former OPPT had done their work. Now, notice I'm being very careful to say former. One of the things that's being missed by a lot of people at the moment, and if people are listening to this, please pay attention to this. The last filing done by the trustees actually shut down all hierarchies, all trusts, etc. So from a lawful point of view, the actual OPPT closed itself down. Okay, what's left in its place is the CVAC that was activated in the course of the filings before Christmas, with Heather actually acting as president of that entity. So from a lawful point of view at the moment, that's why Heather is the key person in making this final decision as to whether to accept this offer or how to shift it in a slightly different direction should she so choose. But that is the position at the moment, and people writing about the OPPT and blogging about it seem to be missing that fact. Okay, that hierarchy has been removed. And when I say removed, and when I say we've moved to absolute, I really mean it. Okay, there's the structures that are left are technically not corporations, they're just people acting cooperatively. Which works. We don't need a corporate structure such as is presented. We can work cooperatively beautifully. That's why there's comments about, they've removed sovereign nations. Well, they weren't sovereign nations. They were corporations with owners that were not revealing themselves to the people and acting against the people. And removing those structures doesn't remove anything of value, because the people are still there and all their stuff is still there and they're still manufacturing and working, and you notice everything's going along just fine. So back to the Swissindo situation. It's a situation very much in play, and lots of work being done behind the scenes to work out the best direction to take it in. And I guess all we can say is have a look at the documents. Don't jump to any conclusions about them. We'll try to explain them in a bit more detail next week when we've clarified it, because we've got our L plates on as far as interpreting these kinds of documents ourselves. But there's people behind the scenes giving us a hand with that, obviously, and Heather and her contacts will be feeding us some more information over this coming week. But it is a very, very interesting turn of events, because it's an indication that a very significant group, should they be exactly who they say they are, which we think they are, has put their hand up and said, we're going to support these people because what we think they're doing is taking us in a better direction than before. And I'm taking that as a really positive sign. But we will keep working on it, folks.
I think it's important to note that the recognition that what has been done is receiving. And I think if you think back 3 months, how have your personal conversations changed? Even with people who, beforehand or fortune may have never even known anything about the slavery system or the Illuminati, I've noticed a marked change in the awareness of people and the conversations that are being had. I had just recently several friends that I have not heard from in over 10 years call my phone and say, hey, Bob, I heard about this and that, and I was wondering if you can tell me what's going on. And people are definitely becoming more actively aware, consciously aware of what's going on, becoming more active in their doing, in actually standing up and asking questions and making changes. They're resisting falling into those same traps anymore. And I see all of these things, different things coming out. And I'm not saying that that what happening in Boston is directly related, but I'm seeing all these things coming out, and it's like a baby throwing a temper tantrum. They're trying everything that they've tried in the past, and nothing's working. Nobody's buying it. It's just like yeah, we've seen that. No. And it's almost becoming comical now. It's coming comical to the point of being ridiculous. It's a very, very bad joke.
Brian, can you post links to where people can find the
I'm like 5 steps ahead. I'm like 5 steps ahead of you.
Okay. Well done.
Yeah, but just folks, when you're reading the documents, just kind of work your way through them slowly, because again, if you thought the UCC was a bit obscure, these are actually more obscure again. Very specific audience.
Heather writes those documents in sort of 5D speak. Well, imagine this is Indonesian 5D speak translated through Google Translate.
Yeah, to a financial. They're speaking to a financial and contractual situation as well. So it's quite a different context.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see there's some people expressing some concern in the chat room. Are we, can these people be trusted? And are you sure that that they have the best interest of all the people in mind? I mean, these are all the questions that we're asking too. So this is like time for extreme amounts of discernment to be exercised. We need to make sure that, the one thing we've noticed, especially over the course of the last couple of months, over the last couple of months, it's been crazy. We have a lot of agendas that are at play right now. And these people trying to push these agendas, and I don't need to name names, people know who they are. They masquerade as people that have everybody's best interest in mind. Everybody's out there that has an agenda that's less than pure, masquerading as if it's the gift to humanity. So we got to take every piece into consideration. Everything that comes to the table, it's just data. And if anything, sometimes it will help tell the story. There's been so many times as of late where something has come in and it's like help make complete sense of something that happened a few weeks previously. So we're right now doing the best that we can to make sure the information stays pure. Who we're dealing with is we are dealing with people who claim to be who they are. I mean, you never really know. So transparency and honesty and just being upfront is the only way that we operate. And when people come to us, I think they've realized already that if you come to us looking for a fight, you're not going to get one. It's just not going to happen.
This is the typical thing that I see. When they come to us, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that you should not put your trust in gold and silver. And the ones who have the vested interest in the system and in that whole control mechanism of money, those who have positioned themselves in high positions in that system, they're the ones who are throwing the biggest fit. It's mine. I have the signature. It's my signature. I'm the only one who can control. And it's crazy. Like, it's it's funny. I look at it and I'm like, they really, really don't want this game to end.
Yeah, the really interesting thing, Bob, is that we can now see them. They are transparent to us. You know, this disgusting exercise this morning. You know, it was done at a time when the crowds are diminished. There are masses of medical people around, sniffer dogs doing a bomb drill, and they still set this bomb off, and it's possibly some sort of test for our reactions, test for this technology that they can use to control information. How cold is that? And they're still trying to see straight through.
I'm reminded of the Daffy Duck cartoon. I'm reminded of the cartoon. His name.
He swims in it at one point, right? Like DuckTales?
Yeah.
Yes, that reminds me of very old comics from my childhood with Uncle Scrooge diving into his big building full of coins. Scrooge McDuck. Mm-hmm. That's dating myself, and that's what these guys are starting to appear to us to be. They just won't let it go. But the transparency that we're starting to see, we're starting to find out about the details of the very top end of the system now. We've kind of worked our way from the ground up, and everyone who's been down these rabbit holes probably resonate with this. We've sort of started at the bottom and worked our way right through the system, through the corporate structure, through the banking system, through the political system. We're winning our way upwards. It becomes more ecclesiastical and then gets rather esoteric, and bingo, we're suddenly getting right to the top of the system. And everything is becoming visible to us. So, you know, as a friend of mine likes to say, you can run but you can't hide. And no one can hide anymore. It's all out there.
Okay. Have I lost everybody?
No. Brian, are you there?
Yeah,
I'm here.
Yep.
I was trying to remember that quote. I think I found it. All truth passes through three stages. One, first it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. I wonder what phase we're in now.
Well, I think, Brian, we've just passed through the violently opposed phase. You know, we've had, you know, someone falsely accuse the OPPT structure of making death threats. Okay, and then the very next day, a clarification and more or less an apology, to making that accusation is posted. So I think we've passed through stage 2 very rapidly, and we're now in stage 3. They're being accepted.
And you got to ask the question: why would they do that if they weren't afraid? You know, why would someone, you know, try to attempt that if they weren't afraid of what's happening?
Yeah, heaviest flak is always over the target, was what the aviators will say. So if you're on the money, you'll be getting the most pushback. Okay, shouldn't have used that term money. If you're on the value, you'll get the most pushback. Self-correction going on all over the place at the moment. We're all still rearranging our thinking patterns, and I'm sure everyone finds themselves self-correcting. And if you don't do it, Lisa will do it for you. I can get
Chris,
Still slap you around. No, but I have to have my enthusiasm curbed by somebody. So there you go. Divine.
Let's take a couple of calls because these people have been waiting since the show started. So let's give this a go. Area code 757.
Peace.
Hello.
Peace. How you doing?
Hi. What was your name? Sorry.
Yes, this is Sovereign Lion.
Hi, Sovereign Lion.
How you
You
doing?
said you had good news.
Yes, I do have great news. I want to greet all embodiments in eternal essence universe first, and absolute love and light to everyone.
Thank you very much.
Funny, I'm more nervous now than I was when I did the event, when I went to the bank Saturday morning. It It was about 9 a.m. and after I just took a spiritual bath and coming off a week of fasting, just paying focused energy and conscious effort into what I was about to do. Just understanding the imperativeness of the moment. And I was sending my energy forth just the whole week forward. And when I walked into the bank Saturday morning, it was BB&T Bank, matter of fact, so it was full transparency. And when I walked into the bank and I greeted, it was the assistant vice president that greeted me, and asked how she was going to be able to help me. And I presented her with the foreclosure flyer. And when I gave her the foreclosure flyer, her eyes opened wide. And she said, well, what's this? And I said, well, read the document first, and then we're going to discuss it afterwards. And she took about 10 minutes to read the document. And when she was finished, she said, wow, this is a lot of information. And I said, yes, it truly is. And after I said that, I said, from this moment forward, right now I'm just educating. Because I went in there with that intention of not being an antagonist to anyone and with the open mind of educating the person that I was going to encounter. Because I knew they wasn't going to be familiar with the information. But to my surprise, she was familiar with the information. So that was really a great thing. Yes, she was. And it's interesting, everything that I was telling her on educating on why I felt the way I felt, telling her that I'm the value, I'm the account, and BB&T has no right to restrict any value that I put into my account. She said, yes, sir, you're right. You are valuable. I'm like, wow. So you do agree with me. So it's like a courtesy notice couldn't come to this person because she wasn't denying me. She wasn't restricting me of anything. You know, if anything, she was in complete compliance with what I was saying. So what I did was place a document, an attachment to my account, letting them know, putting them on notice that I am aware, and letting them know that I do know that I'm the value of my account, and there are things that I intend on doing with my account that BB&T has no right to restrict those things. You say, yes, sir, you're right. You're very right. So it's on record that the foreclosure flyer is attached to my account. And within doing this, BB&T now knows, and she kept saying, sir, you need to tell people about this. You need to be educating people about this. More people need to be coming in. More people need this passion that you got. More people need to be. I needed like 100 people with me, but I can't get 100 people with me. I told someone today the show is coming on. Do you know that the governments are foreclosed upon, well, so-called governments? No, I'm not interested about that. Did you see the bombing today? I'm like, wow, that was just a distraction. You know, let's really come back to what's really going on in the universe right now. You know? So
what was it? Can you clearly state the name of the bank that you were in? The people in the chat room want to know.
That is BB&T.
BB&C.
BB&T, Brent's Banking and Trust.
BB&T.
So where do you go from here now with this bank and with this? She actually asked you to bring more people in to educate them, and she wants to see more people come into the bank knowing this.
Yes, she does. She does, and that was the assistant vice president of BB&T.
I find it interesting. I find it interesting, Sovereign, that it was a woman, and I've had a similar experience with a bank executive, and it was obvious that they knew that what was going on. They knew what I was talking about, and it was a woman that I spoke to, and every time I came across one of those, a male in a similar position, I got a negative response. But the women acknowledge, and they kind of, we know, and they let you know that this is real, and
exactly.
I'm so glad that you shared that with us.
Exactly. She also said that she's sending up the chain of command. I have her vice president's number. I have the card, of her vice president. She gave me her card. I will be contacting her vice president tomorrow. I'm going to give him 24 hours because I did it on Saturday. So I'm going to give him 24 hours, make sure the information goes up, give him a day. I'll be contacting her tomorrow just to let her know that she has the information and move it on up the chain from there. But see, no one has denied me anything yet, so I have no reason to serve them a courtesy notice. I'm simply just putting them on notice of the foreclosure flyer.
Awesome.
Simon, that is absolutely brilliant.
And
That
by the
is
way, if you have the chance to
fantastic.
speak to her again, you can always invite her to the radio show. We'd love to have her.
I would certainly do that. But the main thing is we need more people doing this across the whole map. We need people doing this, you know.
Yeah.
Everybody going in 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4 at a time, letting them know that we know.
Yeah.
I would love it if you could go to the Facebook page, just the straight opt-in Facebook page, and actually type your story up in there, and give people some clear ideas of what you did. I think the preparation that you did was incredibly important and a huge part of the response that you got. The whole attitude, everything about the way you did this was beautiful.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
If you could do that, I would really appreciate it.
Sorry to interject. My wife gave me that suggestion, and thanks to Bob too for bringing up the aspect of this feminine energy and what this is ushering in, and having to listen, because I was eager to go. Remember, I said I was going to be there the day after, but she said, "No, Pa, don't do that. You have to think it out. There's steps to do these things. You're going to need a spiritual bath. You're going to need to meditate. You're going to have to do this. You got to burn your candles." I was doing candle magic. You know, I was burning candle center energy, paying focused energy on it. We need to do this.
Man. Good for you, man.
Yeah. The whole point of the courtesy notices in the end is educating and informing. And I think what you've done is absolutely brilliant. You've had exactly the right guidance and done exactly the right things. And I really want to hear the rest of the story, because I don't think it's over yet for you.
No, it's not over. I was a little nervous, so I can't get it all out. But
well, if you could go and put it on the Facebook page, we'll get it on the website as well. And
well, thank you very much.
That would be lovely. And then you don't have to worry about being nervous. You can just take your time, type it up, and we'll go from there. But thank you so much for ringing in and sharing that. That's brilliant.
Absolute love, peace and light.
Awesome, man. Good for you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well
and I just wanted to say, you've earned your name.
Yes.
Fucking nice.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, darling.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, that's brilliant.
Whew.
That was a cool story.
That was a cool story, and I know it was the energy you paid into it beforehand. That's amazing.
If you're in the right place and you expose people to that energy, they'll receive it and they'll respond to it in a positive way, because you're giving them something fantastic in the end. And if that particular kind of energy, that lady will probably go and talk to many of her colleagues about what happened, and she's transferring it when she does, and that's how it works.
I'm just going to add Dee to this conversation, because I think she's going to join us very soon. So I'll bring her in. Let's take another call in the meantime, though, because hopefully it'll be almost as good as that one. Area code 507.
Hello, this is Donna.
Hi,
everybody.
Donna.
Hi. I just am wondering if Dee is on too. This is great, because what I'm wondering is, we haven't heard from Heather in a week, and I'm wondering if she's had any intel to share with us, or if they expect the Dinar RV and all of the changes to go on, and if that's going to be the precursor to the absolute data, or if that's just their way of fixing up their own system. So with that, I'll yield and just listen. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Donna. Yes, Dee will be on in a few minutes, and we'll get her to give us an update, if there is one. I'm sure she does have one, but thank you. Okay, in the meantime, we'll move on to 773 until Dee gets on.
Hey,
Area code 7.
Yeah,
hello.
Thanks, Lisa, for taking my call. This is the Mexican amigo again from LA.
Hello, Mexican amigo.
Okay, I got two quick things. One is the Spanish version of the courtesy notice is available now at OPPT-Spanish.com. That's one.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
And also, I have a question. You know, with all this gold and stuff, the people trying to move the money from one place to another, I wonder if you have any insights of Bitcoin. My feeling is that it's controlled by the bankers too, but I want to hear from you what you think.
Brian, have you had any done any research into Bitcoin?
Oh, oops, sorry, I was letting the dog out. Let me see. The question was, have I done any research into Bitcoin?
Into Bitcoin, yeah.
I have something that I can share about Bitcoin. If anybody wants to go to the American Kabuki blog, americankabuki.blogspot.com, there's a little cartoon up there that actually tells a pretty good story of Bitcoin. It's two gentlemen. They're sitting at a desk, and one of the guys says, I'm thinking of putting some money into Bitcoin. Do you know anything about it? And the other guy says, well, that would be a very risky venture. Bitcoin is quite volatile. It's a virtual currency controlled by shadowy people in an unregulated environment without any guarantee of return. And the guy then says, you never know when the value will drop or be forced down by nefarious forces or your money stolen by unscrupulous low-life scum. And the response is, so how is that any different than the regular banking system or the stock market? And he says, when you use Bitcoin, I can't charge you fees. So I think that's all about all I know about Bitcoin. I think it's really mysterious that whoever is behind Bitcoin no one really knows who created it. It's this kind of mystery. So I don't think there's enough data out there, information out there to say whether it's something good, bad, or indifferent. I don't really know all that much about it. I just know that anybody that really tries to dive in real deep ends up going in somewhat of a what's that art piece of that stairway that you just keep kind of going up and down on the same thing where it just doesn't lead you anywhere.
That's Escher. The artist called Escher, the Escher staircase. Yeah, look, the little I know about it is really that it has been created by a person or a group unknown, which is very interesting. And what's more interesting is that right at this pivotal time, where Bitcoin seemed to be building nicely, but we know major things are going on and major shifts have to start soon. All of a sudden, someone did a big sell-off and took a whole lot of value out of Bitcoin. As if they were kind of grabbing their cash and running, is the impression that I got.
Okay.
Brian, do you have any feelings about what happened last week? Because it took a big plunge there, and I don't know if it's climbed back up again, but it looked like someone pulled their money out to me.
As far as Bitcoin goes?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the same kind of answer applies to what happened with gold. We invested in a hit, in whichever way they decide to play the market that day, that's the way the market goes and fluctuates accordingly. Mm-hmm. So it's really hard to say. I mean, it's really hard to say. There's a lot of people that say, well, because it's a totally electronic system and there's no clearinghouse, there's no way to manipulate it. I think that's kind of a naive way of looking at it without, offending anybody too much, because there's always a way to manipulate anything if people try hard enough. So, the whole story about Bitcoin has kind of another one of those stories where the chapter has yet to be told. I'm looking forward to Dee coming on and sharing what she knows. The information that was shared with me prior to the call is that the reason the RV didn't happen today is because they don't have any money to do it. There's nothing to back it in the whole thing. So I know that Dee's been saying over the course of the last, well, Dee's kind of been saying for a long time, but especially in the course of the last couple of weeks, that there's really big things happening with the RV. But I don't know how that they'll ever be able to pull something like that off when there's no money to support the whole thing.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, amigo.
All right.
Dee, are you with us yet? No, not yet. Okay. We'll take another call. Area code 347.
Hello there, everyone. Peace and blessings. This is
that
Flow
Prince?
of Focus. It is indeed.
Definitely Prince.
How are you, darling?
Oh, Lordy, Lord. What can I say today? I thought I got on late tonight. I'm actually pretty high on the list, fortunately for some. I'm actually just about to post into into all of these Skype chat rooms my after OPPT show that I'm launching tonight. It's basically just a phone call. You make a phone call just like the Blog Talk Radio, and you just put in an access code. I'm posting it. It's on my Facebook right now, and anyone who wants to continue this conversation or has anything more to say, when you guys cut off on the air, we can have like how everybody watches The Waking Dead. What is that? The Walking Dead, right? And then you got the after show on like some other channel. I don't even know if it even comes on the same channel. I don't watch it myself, but it's like some cool stuff like that.
Prince, you could have picked a better show than You could have picked a better show than The Walking Dead. I mean, thanks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't watch it myself. My cousin.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But Prince, do you want to just you've obviously got your interests in what you want to talk about, and you've called the show after OPPT. Tell us a bit about what you want people to bring up and get out there with you.
Well, there's a lot of things that I consider poignant points of information, poignant nodes, if you will. We're kind of how you say in just one node or two nodes. There's like kind of 15 or a number of different areas we need to be talking about, and I just feel like maybe we can bring up some discussions about like the serious disclosure coming up in like how many days. Like you guys talk about that, and I feel like this is a big issue that we probably should bring more forefront, so that is the kind of disclosure that will bring the biggest change. Because I feel like if you look in the sky and then stars start to move, and then one shines at you, like winks at you or something, it's like, wait a minute, did that just happen? Now you can share that with somebody when it starts to just happen all over the sky or something like that. It just looks like popcorn happening, like they're clapping or something. You know what I mean? It's like, if that kind of thing can happen for us, if we can get the awareness out there to the point where we're just talking about it like it's regular. You see what I'm saying? That's what I feel like will end up happening if we can open up the lines for just a different avenue of information. I know this is a lot 3D oriented, so I want to take that to the next level for people who want to go there. It's just a choice. That's why I want to invite everyone to come on over.
And where do they go exactly, Prince?
They can go to free conferencing, and it really, it's using freeconferencing.com, okay? And they don't have to go anywhere, but they can just go to my Facebook and get the phone number. The phone number is posted, it's up there. It's a picture. It's also in my Instagram, 599-726-1200 with the participant access code 285942. So you guys can call up, and when it prompts you, enter the access code. And then for anyone who wants to listen, there's a playback number for the show, 559-726-1299. And then you enter the access code again, and that's the show that we do, you see. And we continue this more and more. I think that we'll get enough awareness out there, guys. So come on over. It's like basically unlimited, and we can go on for 6 hours, so it's no problem.
Woo! Now that's a party.
Yeah, that's a party. Also,
that's what I'm talking about, baby.
Yeah. Prince, you're right on the value. I've got to stop saying money. Right on the value. The disclosure's going to come more through us than any government is going to do. And the work of Stephen Greer and the Serious Film Project, that's all private. That's all private people doing it. That's us doing it. And if we start doing it at ground, you're now doing it at ground level with people and their day-to-day experiences and beliefs, and expanding their awareness of this whole thing. And you've just decided to do this at this point of time, and it will actually support the energy of the bigger things, like bigger, more public things like Sirius. And we have to do this. And I know this is going on all over the world. And what I hope is that in the coming even weeks, that all of these people doing this in groups around the world will start to look outwards a bit and find each other, because I think when we do that, we'll realise that there's a hell of an audience there that's just not quite visible at the moment, that's really aware, and that energy is going to start to bloom. So,
my favorite thing is meeting someone on the street, and they know what you're talking about, and then they say that they're doing this, and then they're like, oh, this is great, we met somebody, and then I just feel like I just did like a Super Saiyan power-up, so now I just feel, it's like an eagerness, how Abram puts it. It's an eagerness, like I'm eager now. I'm like, yes.
Ready.
Yes, we got it.
They're
Another
ready.
one, ready. Ooh, yes. Yes.
Got him, yeah.
So
we'll be talking about this.
Baby. I actually had an experience on this weekend on Sunday. Oh my goodness! Me and my two friends, Grant and Herbs Nico, my good buddies. These guys. Oh man, we went from Central Park on just a walk, like an aimless wander, like three old retired men, like just watching the world around us, just enjoying ourselves, like. Look at all of these people enjoying themselves in this wonderful place of just public freedom, and we took some pictures and whatnot, and we called some friends up, and then we actually got to this point where there was an obelisk, and we saw it from a distance, and we went to it, and then there were these people shooting a music video, and one of the guys, he asked me to use my cane to be in the video. Like I mean, I hurt myself a while ago. And then I became enlightened, and then I was healed. So then I walk with the cane because now I cause vibration every time I stamp it down. So I think it's a cool thing, I think it's a cool thing now. So I call that a memory. Every time I make a nice hard. Sorry?
It's called a pip cane.
I use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, you can't.
It's straight. It's straight though.
It's
not curved. It's straight.
What Prince is saying is actually real, because humans impart energy to objects, so there's an energy signature that remains in objects when we handle them. And if you're walking along with an object and you whack it on the ground and you have an intention to leave an imprint of energy on that spot, you are leaving an energy imprint. So you're leaving these little like love landmines for people to walk on and get some of your energy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, so don't do it.
The thing that moved me so much in this conversation. I love that.
Exactly.
Love landmines.
That's real. I'm not kidding. That's real. That's really happening when you do that. And the more you intend it, the more you're aware of it, the better it'll work for you.
I call it a memory.
Children are really
making a memory.
Yeah.
Children are really, really good at this. I'm reminded of a scene in The Secret Garden, if you've ever seen that movie. And there's a scene where the children are trying to get, their father to come back home. And they're standing around the fire and they start chanting and they said, if we say this and if we do that, and if all of these things, we do them all in sequence, then he'll come home. And they imagined doing it and they danced around the fire, and sure enough, he came home. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that was just a coincidence and it was really cute that they believed in that. Or are they tapping into something inherently, part of our nature, that imaginative, creative process that is so alive in children? And, we educate it out of them. We educate it out of them. Everybody knows that when you're in that period of time, we call it magical. And it's time for us to really get back to that magic, where we start engaging our imagination and having confidence in it. Having confidence that what it is, whatever it is, and there is no rules. You know, if somebody tells you that you need to be sitting in a black room, blindfolded with your legs crossed a certain way, you know, you need to fast on, maybe that will work. But
wait, can you say that again? I got to write it down.
If it works in your head, it's working.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the main thing. Yes.
Yeah. One final suggestion, Prince, is next time you and your friends are walking the park together, go back to that obelisk and tell it that it's free. Okay, because one of the things that I find really that it's just an idea that needs to go out there is that all hierarchies cancelled, all systems cancelled, so the symbology that's been used is also gone. So legalese is gone, and so the Illuminati symbolism that they've been using for centuries doesn't mean anything anymore. So that stone was enslaved in a shape that was being used as a meme to control people, and now it's free. So go and tell it it's free.
Lovely.
And you can walk,
man.
you know,
we actually went out there. After they shot that video, man, let me tell you, we shared this info, like, we were so high on this information vibration and the love that actually one of us actually was speaking in Aboriginal language, like from our forefathers, ancestors, forefathers, ancestors. You understand me? Like, he did a chant in front of it and just said, no worries. And all of that meant no worries forever.
You know, Prince, what you're bringing up for me, I mean, you're a great storyteller. I can imagine the kind of the energy and the vibe that you guys were in when you were out in this walk, right? Like, I was on the Orion Talk radio show with Glenn Caldwell last Wednesday, and it was on grace. And when you guys are just in that vibe, right, that it's just like a total state of grace. You weren't really worried about what you were going to do next week, or you probably wouldn't really all that focused on what you did yesterday. It's just like total presence. When you're in that total presence, you can just vibe in that full on just that total resonance of absolute grace. And that is one of the most contagious vibes to be around, because it just makes people want to smile, and they look at you and they're like, whoa, what has that guy got figured out? Where you're just kind of in that mode, man. And that's what I'm vibing from you right now, man. So keep doing what you're doing, bro. It's very inspiring.
Man, I got your giggles now, man. I mean, I've been feeling it rubbing off on me, yo. You're going to kill me, Brian. You're going to kill me, Brian. Oh, God. Oh, I'm laughing right now so hard. I'm holding it in, though, because I want to hold my composure.
We love
you. Know what? Thank you, Prince. We love you. We love you joining in us every week, and your calls are always a great contribution. So thank you. And I think we do have
so much. My name is The Flow. If you guys call me Prince, that is my third dimensional name. My fifth dimensional name is The Flow of Focus. My family is The Focus, which is consciousness. That is my family, consciousness. And we are what we are, that which we are, and I am the flow. The energy flows through me. I give it back in abundance, as it was intended. So my name is Prince, but my name is, and I am the flow.
Gotta know the flow.
Well,
all right, time to go.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think we need to take that. We need to actually take that little bit that the flow just stated and put it up as a little clip somewhere. That was gorgeous.
That was nice. Yes, very.
Beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Okay, Dee, we got you?
I am here, finally. Yes, I'm here.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I am extremely excited.
Oh, give us the...
And I'll put it to you this way. We stopped at our favorite little shop. I'm late tonight because we spent a family day and we went down to the lake for the first decently somewhat mild day of the year where I am, and spent all day running up and down the beach. And I was eating covered espresso beans to keep awake, And I popped a few more. I took another handful just before I came on the radio show, and I hope I stay awake for the show.
Have a coffee.
Funny that'll be up for 3 days. So.
Yeah.
So
I think I ate them all.
What's the goss, darling? Because we've already had a call asking for any update on the RV, if there is one.
Oh yes. Yes. Straight off the bat, I haven't taken any calls yet today because I've literally been out until 15 minutes ago, so I haven't been around to take any calls today. We got a few notes here while you guys were just talking to the Flow, and I love you, the Flow. You're so awesome. I was, scanning quickly through any update notes that were coming in. Everything's moving forward still. Everyone was absolutely certain what would be seen today. As I have said before, they have backed themselves in a corner now where they absolutely have to go forward with this. And it's I just keep giggling my ass off continuously with everything.
When you say they have to, but they can't, in the sense of they can't legitimately.
No.
So they're going to have to move forward with something that looks like.
Well, exactly. The problem is regardless of what certain people want to say, they've already cashed out all whales. Now, for those who don't speak dinar RV speak, the whales are those who own huge amounts of Iraqi dinar. Now, when I say huge, I'm talking mind-blisteringly huge amounts. So all the whales have already cashed out. They did not get vouchers. They have cash in their account. Now, the thing is that cash is frozen. They can't touch that cash. So here you have this hysterical situation where they've already paid out all these people. Now, the fact that they're whales to begin with means that they had the money to purchase the dinar to begin with. These people are all already very wealthy, very powerful, very well connected. So they're sitting there with bank accounts that they can't access, that are full of zeros. As I was saying to a good friend of mine last night, this is one of the reasons why they're backed into a corner, because these people already have the power and the backing, if you will, to cause a stink. And if you think they're going to sit there, we can't touch for very long, seriously raising trouble, legal trouble, it's not going to happen, right? Like they can't. These guys aren't going to sit there patiently for weeks or months while they know they have all this money in this account they can't touch.
Right.
Certain things have happened this week that have been very, very interesting to watch. One of the big things, and I just got the okay to say this, I just actually called one of my main contacts and said, look, can I say this on the radio show? And they said yes. As of midnight Saturday night, every country in the world is now Basel III compliant. Every bank must now be Basel III compliant. Now, what that means, again, in layman's terms, is they must be fully asset-backed.
Which doesn't make sense in light of the drop in gold, does it?
Well, it does.
How?
Oh, it absolutely does. Because you have there's a couple of countries who were short, and you have a couple of banks, very well-known banks, who are also short. They don't have enough assets. And all of a sudden, gold plunges in price. Why? It's so these guys can buy up the gold to back up their assets. That's why. And they're saying it'll fall even farther because there's still more that will need to scramble around to still try and get their assets in. So that's the fall in the gold prices right now is one of the main reasons is the fact that you've got countries and private banks some of whom we know and love, not really, who are scrambling to get the assets. And that's why you're seeing this incredible artificial plunge in the gold market. And if you look, it's all the precious metals. All the precious metals are just dropping like crazy. Silver took a 12% plunge today. I've never, ever seen silver drop that much in a day. Even though the second largest silver mine in all of the United States that supplies a third of the United States silver just had a massive landslide. And no one was hurt, thank goodness. But they say it's going to take at least a year to dig this silver mine out. And yet the price of silver is dropping.
So, is this actually people selling up their paper or selling up their hard metal?
No, this is blatant maneuvering. It's blatant. Means absolutely nothing. It has nothing to do with people buying or selling or anything.
So they just change. They just go to the stock exchange and change the numbers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
So what you're trying to say is that all those figures on the stock market people have been following for decades.
Yeah.
They're all bullshit.
They're all crock shit. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at the Dow.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Here is a prime example. You explain to me how the Dow is sitting steady right now with gold and silver and oil and all precious metals literally falling out of the sky, plunging.
Fascinating.
And then you tell me it's not manipulated. It's so blatant at the moment. I scratch my head. Well, I laugh. That's what I do. Anyways, so things are moving forward. They are in a position now where they have to. They have paid out vast sums of money to these whales already. They can't take it back. Now, I'll give you a little interesting thing. And any of our listeners, if they know anything about banking, Heather will be giggling her ass off for this. As soon as the bank, so let's talk all these whales in the U.S., all these accounts that are frozen. So at 4:49, let's take a number. At 5:01, the bank is closed. The bank is then taking that money, and they're trading it on the off-time markets. They're using it to prop up their own money, doing all kinds of trades, and as long as that money is back in the account, by 8:01 a.m. the next morning, it's all good. So,
but even when you use the word money,
we're
not talking about, what are we talking about? We're talking about bullshit numbers on a screen that aren't backed by anything.
Well, they're supposed to be.
They're supposed to be. But
they're supposed to be, but I'd like someone to show me the proof that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because otherwise, all it is, I'm sorry, but otherwise, I don't care what you call that unit, whether you call it a Federal Reserve bill or a U.S. Treasury bill, it doesn't matter what you call that unit. If it's just a bunch of zeros on a screen, then how is it not a fiat currency? Show me the proof that it's gold-backed. Really. That's what I keep coming back to. All it is piles of zeros on screen.
Well, I think that's one of the big misconceptions that people don't realize. Even what is called fiat currency, it is backed by something. They just don't want to tell you what it's backed by.
Oh, exactly.
They just don't want to tell you what it's backed by, because if they did, then they would basically tell you, oh, well, we've basically been stealing from you. It's backed on your energy.
Yep.
It's backed on you.
Yep.
And now that all of the people are secured in their embodiments and that paperwork has been filed, now there literally is nothing backing it. And that's why they're scrambling for the gold and the silver, because, that's what people believe have value. But even if they had all the gold and the silver, right? It's still not the same value as you.
Yes,
they're just
this is exactly why I started trading my energy on the public market. It's just 5 hugs per ounce, and you got yourself a deal.
It's a hug-backed currency. Love it.
I'll trade hugs for coffee if anyone wants to take me up on that.
Well, look, what you're seeing, folks, is an exchange of goodwill, and that's actually what this is all about. People talk about goodwill in businesses. That's actually our energy, and it's always been undervalued. Oh, the goodwill's not worth that much. It's the asset. That's absolute BS too. The goodwill was always the value in that equation. It just gets sidelined because they don't want to give us any clues. You see.
Yep.
Well, I hope that answers the question for those who wanted an update and wanted to try and put some more pieces together.
Yeah, they have to go forward because they've already paid people out, and the people they've paid out are powerful enough to say, "Yeah, I want my freaking money now."
And they're not being given they're not being given access to it. I think that is hilarious.
Oh, well, yeah, but then it's like I was just going to say, the banks are playing with it. The banks are making a freaking killing this past week. Because they're using all this money that's sitting there that these people can't touch, even though they own it. The banks are using it. They're trading it. It's completely fraud.
So
it is complete fraud. And yet, the banks are the ones who are supposed to be pushing it forward. So as I was joking with a friend of mine last night, they were saying, oh, well, there's been so many delays. They thought they'd worked it out. It would take X amount of time per person to get them the exchange done, yada, yada, yada. But then they figured, when they started processing people, it was taking much longer. I'm like, of course it's taking much longer. The longer the banks take to do it, the more time they have to play with the money.
Well, right? I have to say, we're straight back to The Walking Dead, and they're just a bunch of zombies feeding on each other at this stage, from my perspective.
So much. Yeah, it's quite humorous. But yeah, I mean, as we said, everyone is literally waiting with bated breath. They're on this momentous edge waiting for it. But the funniest thing is, most of my sources are the most, how would you say it, rigid, hard-nosed, conservative. They don't know anything about OPPT. They don't want it. That stuff is all just, they don't want to know anything about energy exchange. Look, they just know. It's all about the money. And even these people now, people who 6 months ago would have been saying all this stuff, even now they're all sitting back and going, like, this whole Nassara thing is a crock of shit. This is not Nassara. Like, it is such a complete crock. Because I needle them all the time. I torture them, quite frankly, and say things like, oh, gee, well, that sounds really, really fair and equitable for everyone. And they're like, yeah, Dee, I don't want to talk about it. Because they know it's so blatant. It's so blatant that it's just a continuation of this same old business as usual.
Well, that can only go on for so long. How much longer do you think the whales, as you call them, how long before they finally put their foot down?
I have no idea. How long can they buy them off? How long can they promise them the world if they just sit in the corner, shut up and color? I don't know. But I don't think it's going to be very long. I just don't. I mean, if you're somebody who's already extremely powerful and wealthy to begin with, and you know that you have X many billions of dollars sitting in an account that you can't touch, well, I don't see them sitting back and taking that very lightly for very long.
Okay.
Just a question for Brian and Dee. Brian might be able to answer this more accurately. In the gold and silver markets, what if you look at the overall, theoretical value of the market, what proportion of it is just paper that's supposed to represent gold but really doesn't, and what proportion of it's actually hard metal, as far as publicly traded gold is concerned? which is what we're talking about here, publicly traded stuff.
I think there's Wall Street investors that have been trading gold almost all their lives that still don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means there's probably very, very little metal compared to the amount of paper.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When gold is actually traded on the commodities market as well. I mean, you can trade some really interesting things in commodities. I mean, like pork bellies and corn and soybeans, and the way that it works with these futures trades, where you're like buying a contract that is set to be with some contract date some month in the future. So let's say I go and I buy 4 contracts worth of corn that is on an August contract. Well, you have to sell that contract by August, and then that's when there's going to be some delivery that's going to be made of corn to some delivery port. Not to your, you don't have to worry about getting 200,000 bushels or whatever it is ears of corn on your door, but gold and silver is supposed to work the same way, but no one ever lets it get to the point where there's actually any delivery vehicle, because it's based purely on speculation. So think about how it's just like fractional reserve banking. When the bankers realized that people were never actually going to come and cash out all their money, they realized that they could just continue to add zeros in a computer. And I'm assuming that the gold market is the exact same way. They realize that nobody's ever going to come cash out their gold. They're just going to speculate on the gold. So in essence, there doesn't even need to be any gold backing it.
Okay, so there's probably no gold in play at all there. So all the gold's really theoretically sitting back in giant private caches, such as we've heard of in Indonesia and China, and some in the bigger central banks, maybe. Now, we've been given information that as far as the banking system is concerned, ignoring the stuff that's been held by families over a very long time, that some or all of that was literally taken from them some time back. So there's really actually very little gold sitting around anywhere at all in the financial system. Very little real stuff. And I guess that's the reason.
You've got to discount all the tungsten as well.
No, there's a lot of. Well, that's when it disappeared. I gather a lot of it suddenly had tungsten in it, not gold. And I'm concluding that the reason that various aspects of the corporate system are desperate to become the signatories for giant physical assets like the Swissindo group appear to, I say appear to because, we're just being told they do, but they appear to control. I gather there's similar situations elsewhere in Asia. And so what we're saying is the entire system, everything about it, not just the banking system, but the stock market, all the derivatives, is just complete fiction. There's just no value in it. Nothing at all.
Absolutely. It has no meaning. It has literally no meaning. And this is one of the things that we've watched go on and off. One of the aspects of NESARA is the taking back of the stock exchange to its literal value. Not its inflated make-believe mythological value, but the literal value of individual stocks based on the assets of course, the company.
The companies, because in amongst that, they're
company.
Sorry to interrupt you, Dean. I think I just jumped on you there.
No problem, love.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there are real companies out there who employ really good people who put their energy in and make really good stuff that we really need, and that's where the value is in the corporate system. Everything else is just people in suits making profits on the process and not actually contributing to anything real.
Yeah. Well, and this is it. I mean, one of the aspects, like I said, of NESARA was that it was supposed to be all brought back. So when you started seeing the market falling, people were like, okay, well, this is the lead up to it. Well, then you got this crap that's going on now where the Dow is so freaking high at the moment, and I have to stand back and look at that and go, oh, yes, because they've really equalized and made all those adjustments they were going to make. Hello.
Yeah. I just get the idea. There's a room full of financial system nerds at the moment with eyes the size of saucers, drinking coffee all night and laughing themselves silly, falling off. Hey, I reckon we can get the Dow up another 1,000 points.
Listen. We all remember what happened with the LIBOR, right?
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of people in a room manipulating via email back and forth and joking about what they want the market, what they want the LIBOR that affects every interest rate on every fraudulent loan in existence that runs through major banking. And why would the gold market, the stock market, the futures market be any different?
Yeah.
Why? People look at the market as if it's this conscious existence. It's like this thing that goes up and down, and it's like its own, like it has a soul. It's not. It's all based.
I'm zoning out. I am completely zoning out. It's irrelevant.
It is.
I'm sorry. I can't have this conversation anymore. It just feels so irrelevant.
So I was talking.
You just want to going about
why are you always
this whole thing, and the question that I saw that Brian, that you typed into the chat room, did not the OPP confiscate all of the gold at one time? Why would we
all the gold?
This is what, and I don't know how else to say this. As soon as you have a representation of value, as soon as you have something external, now you have something that can be hoarded, you have something that can be confiscated, you have something that can be stolen, you have something, you understand? Why would we want to do that? Now, the gold has its own value inherent in itself, and it owns its own value. It will choose to play with whom it chooses to play with. As we have stated before, the gold has DNA, just like you. Now, how would you feel, and this is, I ask this question because this is what has actually been done, how would you feel if someone was trading and buying and selling you on the stock market, putting titles of ownership on your head the same way that you're doing with the gold, which is alive? Each embodiment has its own inherent value, and it is within you. There need be no representation of that value. Your actual being, the fact that you can be there and express it, right, is enough evidence of that value, that you have that consciousness, that conscious energy within you. Now then, when you have that value and there's no representation, there's nothing to hoard, there's nothing that can be stolen, there is nothing that can be traded, there is nothing that can be absconded, hijacked, or anything. Because the value is completely within your control, and you give it to whom you wish or who you wish not to.
Yep, the whole system, this whole, as soon as you introduce the concept Bob's talking about, you're in a slavery system. End of story. That's it. And that, as I said earlier in the show, the biggest difference between all these manipulations that Dee's describing and that we've been exposed to yet again from the little blog incident yesterday, all of those efforts are simply rearranging deck chairs inside the system. And it's a slavery system no matter how you cut it. So reduce it to absolute. Let's get back to being individuals, deal with each other individually, and our value, as Bob just said, can't be hijacked. There's no way they can intercede. There's no cracks for them to get into our brains and actually trick us, because basically we've been tricked a long time ago, and it's been an ongoing joke, and it's on us. And now that we see it, we can just say, okay, joke's now on you guys, we're off.
I want to address, Brian just dropped into the chat room again. The person who asked the original question about the gold said, this is not about that. This is about the veracity of Heather's statement. So this is what I'm going to say in response to that. in complete literal. I haven't been in the vaults personally, so I cannot say for a 100% fact that the gold has all vanished. But I can look at what's been going on for the last 8 months anyways, but especially the last 6 months, and put 2 and 2 together. Okay? We have Germany screaming, give us our damn gold back. There is one of the countries in, I think it might be Argentina, who also asked for their gold back. I can't remember. It's somewhere in South America. I can't remember who. Several other countries are all demanding the Federal Reserve give them their gold back. Demanding it. We have in the last 2 weeks, 2 major European banks could not meet their gold, the gold that for their clients. And they paid them out cash instead of gold because they didn't have the gold to meet it. A couple of weeks ago, we had a big to-do at Fort Knox. It was all hush-hush and covered up, and it was all, it was something else that happened. Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, I bet you there's no gold in Fort Knox.
Well, listen, if there was gold in Fort Knox, if there was gold at the BIS or in the Federal Reserves, there wouldn't be all this major horse trading funny business on the back end to try to secure it. I mean, that's what a lot of these big moves with, these big leaders going overseas and trying to negotiate with the Indonesians and all this stuff that you hear about around every corner, those things wouldn't be done if they really still were sitting on huge deposits of gold. It wouldn't be necessary. They wouldn't need to. They've lost their power, which is why they're trying to make all these moves. So I also have not been, I haven't taken a tour of the inside of Fort Knox or the inside of all the Federal Reserves, but I bet you what you would see in there is a nice, one solid, maybe little crate of tungsten wrapped in maybe a little dipping of gold. And if you melted it down, you can make a nice little set of earrings or a little necklace out of it and give it to Dee as a belated birthday present. or Bob to make a Rolex. I don't know.
Yeah, here you go. Here's the other thing. Why, if the Federal Reserve, if the BIS, the central banks have all of this gold they supposedly have, then why is China shipping gold to the U.S. to pay for the RV? Why is a certain country who shall remain unnamed, cold country, I know it well, why did they send a shitload of gold to the U.S. Treasury to fund the RV? Where's all their gold? Seems to me they should have the gold to be able to do this themselves, and yet everyone else is sending gold to the U.S. to pay for it. So, no. Do I know that these vaults are empty? No, I don't. But when I can look back and see the stories in mainstream media stories, I can look at them and add 2 and 2 together and say, they haven't got a lick of gold.
Just looking at some of the recent comments in the chat room, and all I can tell you from what I know, and I'm constantly saying I'm kept in the loop to the extent to which I can keep up with the loop, is that Heather and Caleb and Randall have not just gone on holidays, guys. The work continues on so many levels. And it's the stuff that boggles my mind. But we do not want to, on this show, preempt or speculate or do anything to, because we've done it in the past. We have these kind of, what if discussions, and next thing you know, it gets thrown back at us. This is what you said would happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So we're sort of cutting back on the whole, let's have these discussions about what if, because, I mean, initially having those discussions was just an opportunity to get people thinking and us thinking and just creating conversation and getting us all to think outside the box. Because we are in completely new territory. This is what we're doing has never happened before. So we are making this up as we go along, each and every one of us. So that those kind of conversations, those what ifs, are opportunities for us to use our imagination as a launch pad to create what we want. But the work goes on. It is continuing in the background, and what we can tell you, we do tell you, without putting out anything speculative. So that's kind of the update as it is. Just because Heather's not on the show doesn't mean that nothing's happening. That woman is still working 24/7. Like I said, on a lot of levels with a lot of irons in different fires, so to speak. And so is Caleb, and so is Randall. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, hence my caffeine addiction.
Yes.
What I'd like to say to that is, basically, what we have done thus far is we have taken things all the way down to the common denominator, to the ground roots. When we say taking things all the way back to source, that is the source of all value. Okay? Whatever it is that was built on top of that didn't work, is causing all kinds of problems. So let's go back to the beginning, back to source, which is just you're dealing with energy, okay? And let's go from there. All that other stuff, as in place, that was in place, becomes irrelevant. We can build whatever it is that we choose to build. Now, can we use elements of what's there? If it's possible, yes, we can. If it's possible to transform some of those elements, yes, we can do that. But not without losing sight of the common denominator, which is the energy exchange. And that is what people really have lost focus of. And that is something that the former powers, want to distract you from. They'll do anything to distract you from the real issue, which is your power, your energy. None of those outside representations really mean anything without you. If you sat there, right, and you were stranded on an island, 100 billion pounds of gold, 4,000 stacks of reserve notes, bonds, or whatever is not going to do you one bit of good. But one other person on that island can make a huge difference. And that is what real value is. People have got to stop looking outside of themselves for value. You need to understand what real value is. And
I think the people that are listening to this show do, for the most part. I think all of us, every single one of us, have gone on a huge journey over the last 4 months with this. It's been a spiritual journey. It's been an emotional journey. It's been it's operated on so many levels. And there were we called them the show me the money people in the beginning, who have had so much growth and are out there doing so much good in their being and doing now. And they're seeing the results of that in their personal lives. And they get who they are. And we've all gone on that journey,
Yeah. Chris and I were talking about this offline the other day, that there was a certain sequential order that kind of almost had to happen in order for all this to make sense. I mean, if we would have jumped from the very beginning and that IUV exchange document would have come out, it would have had people scratching their heads thinking, huh? But it didn't. It happened in an order, in a way that would allow people to keep up with and understand the whole process. It was a natural evolution. I think that on a higher level, it was all by design, but it allowed us to witness it firsthand and grow with it. I going back and listening to the first original interview that I did with Heather, it's like, oh my gosh, I think of the questions that I was asking her at the time, which are the questions that made the most sense to me, and it's like, from where I was then to where I am now, it's like light years of evolution in thought and in experience. So it's been gosh,
can you imagine?
A ride.
Can you imagine if last December the UV document was what was released?
No.
We all would have gone, who the hell are these crazy people?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How to confuse people 101 by us.
Yeah, the process we've been led through is stunning when you look at the amount of information we've received and the incredible concepts and implications of everything that's happened. It is mind-boggling. It's amazing.
And I just want to send out a reminder to Sovereign Lions. Please do go to the Facebook page and put your story up there of what you did, what you presented, what you did in the beforehand as preparation. Because there are some people who missed that right at the beginning of the show. So go to, for those of you who are listening, just keep an eye on the opt-in Facebook page for Sovereign Lions post. And he's saying he definitely will do it. Thank you. Because I think that's a great experience to just try and what's the word? Incorporate into your own being.
Well, this is what I said last week. It's time to start having these conversations. This is, in my interpretation of that, of acting and doing in complete transparency, is okay. Transparent about it. I'm the one giving the value. Let's not hide. Let's not pretend it anymore. I'm not getting anything from you. I'm here to extend my value towards this project, and you are going to be the exchange. You're going to facilitate that exchange. Now, I may choose to, you may set a fee for that, okay, and I will pay into that fee, but there will be complete transparency. Full disclosure, the value is coming from me, and it's going towards wherever I choose. And it's that simple.
Well, I'm looking forward to an update from Sovereign Lion as to what happens next. Because he may well be the guide for people to have those conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming up to the final few minutes. Is there anything that we haven't covered or that we need to cover before we sign off?
Man, we've covered a lot of ground. I don't know. Do you have any callers in the queue or no?
Someone just asked about Daryl. Daryl is fine. Nobody's come after him. The conversation that Chris had with him is available on the optin.com website. What else is up there, Chris, in relation to Daryl?
There is also a recording of the actual conversation that he had with the sheriffs on the day, and if you ever want to see a guy in absolute truth and in patience and trying to educate people who are reluctant to even look at the information, go and listen to it. It's a fantastic example. That and the way that the flow spoke of how we deal with the people around us in this is brilliant. So have a listen to that. And there's also a transcript of that there as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. And a reminder that if you want to support Bill Brader, please go to his Facebook page. The courtesy notices and cover letters and whatever, all the email addresses, everything you would need to participate in a flash mob for him, for support, are all there. And please keep your eyes on the Facebook opt-in page and potentially the website, the optin.com website later on today, for Australians who want to participate in flash mobs to their state, at a state level. All the paperwork's been done. It's just about getting them online. Okay. What else? That's it. That was all the updates I had.
Look at me. I didn't so.
Oh, everyone's gone quiet. And you was always coffee, but.
Well, there's a bunch of chat going on in our Skype chat room, so I'm trying to catch up with it.
Oh, well, I've had to go and just wait till after the show.
Smart, because I've been kind of spacing out for the last 2 minutes. I don't even know what you just said.
Yeah, we're having discussions.
You've been hanging on my every word, Brian. I'm offended.
Oh, come on. It's only fair. You spaced out on him a few minutes ago, so.
I know. I do it all the time. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for listening in again this week. Tomorrow's Collective Imagination show is also going to be quite full and interesting. We've got a few things planned for that. Well, you know what I mean, as much as we could possibly do. And what else? We do expect, the Swissindo information. Someone asked where they can find that. It's on Facebook pages, and Brian did put a link into the chat room. Maybe you could do it handy, Brian.
You might want to repost that because the chat room moves so quickly.
Yeah, I'll put it in again right now. It's just 3 Facebook pages, and there's also their blog that they put it on as well. But I'll put it all in the chat room right now.
And
then what's that?
Go ahead. No, I was just
going to say one of these days we'll put it into we'll put it out on the blogs, but we're just a little bit. We want to make sure that we understand everything that's going on before we really make some big announcements. So right now, we'll leave everyone to their own higher discernment.
Yeah, and most certainly the thing we're finding that from a philosophical, spiritual point of view, that the Swissindo group that we're contacting, that we're having interchanges with, are very much on the same page, which is really good. There's just more work to do before we resolve how to move forward on that. And look, I'd just like to thank everybody for travelling along on this journey with us for yet another week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, thank you, everybody. All right, I'm going to say my goodbyes and see you tomorrow, hopefully, on the TCI show. And talk to you then.
Cool. Adios. Bob, another big happy birthday to you, brother. My birthday is actually on Wednesday. We won't be doing a radio show, so if anybody wants to wish me a birthday tomorrow on tomorrow's show, I'd be totally okay with that.
It's amazing how everybody was born in April. It's crazy.
Aries rule. That's all I have to say.
So I love you guys, and thank you everybody for listening. And I know, as usual, it'll be a exciting show tomorrow. So we'll see y'all in 24 hours or so.
Okay, we're going to go out singing Bob Happy Birthday.
Awesome.
Oh, please.
Great idea. Great idea.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Come on, keep going. Happy birthday, dear Bob. Happy birthday to you.
I appreciate it, guys, but now I know why you all do talk radio.
We've also got great faces for radio too.
Exactly.
Well, some of us do. Some of us have actually quite amazing faces for radio, but the rest of us, yeah.
Adios,
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.